Okay, we're looking at part 9 of the walkthrough on the airline tutorial, and we switched to a Mac and we're looking at differential seat pricing. The way the EasyJet application works is that you pay a certain amount for the flight, in this case it's $29.20, so every seat costs $29.20 just for the flight, and if we're in the seat booking system, then we pay for every seat that we booked, and the prices are different. These seats here at the front, these are quite expensive, so these are $13.99. Seats back here are a bit cheaper at, I think, $9.99, and different rows cost different amounts. And we've got the pricing structure in the booking system here. So in the booking JSON, there's this pricing structure, and the pricing structure indicates the different prices for different parts of the aircraft. So you can see that first row, 1A to 1F, the seats 1A to 1F, here they are. That's 1A, that's 1F. So those prices, they've got extra legroom and they're more expensive at $13.99. That's row 1, row 2 through to 6. These ones are slightly more expensive because they're near the front, so they are $9.99, and then other seats have different prices. So we've got 5 different bands, but we want to be able to cope with any number. So these seats are one price, these seats in this range here are more expensive, and these ones are cheaper, and so forth. So what I want to do is every time the user clicks on a seat, I want to figure out what's the right price band. And we need to look through this structure here. So the action has to happen as I click on a seat, and that's happening right down here near the end of the file. So this is where I respond to the user clicking on one of the td.n, one of these seats, they're td.n nodes. When the user clicks on those, I go through this sequence. I find out how many seats have been booked. I decide whether or not it can be booked. And by this stage here, the click has been complete and I've calculated the list of my seats. So MS, this list here, MS is a list of all the seats that are currently booked to mine. These are the orange ones. Okay, that orange list here, 1B and 2B. These are the seats that are booked, and they're the seats that belong to me. And this section of the code is taking that list MS, and here I am extracting, so running a map over that to get this list SL, and I'm running over all of those seats, the list MS, so MS is being mapped, and I'm pulling out the attribute. I'm taking substring 1 to strip the underscore from the ID. If I right click on this guy here, you can see the ID is underscore 2B, so underscore 2B is the value that gets returned here. I turn that to uppercase, and that's how I get this list 1B, 2B, by turning that lowercase b into an uppercase B and stripping off the underscore. So we're going to do something similar to figure out the pricing. What I'm going to do then is for every seat that I found, so let's take a new loop, we'll leave a blank line and just indicate what we're doing. Let's calculate the seat prices. Okay, so I'm going to run over all of these seats that I've found. So for var I equals 0, I is less than, let's go with the original list, ms, yep, ms.length, I plus plus. So this is the loop that runs over every one of my seats. Now let's pull out the ID. So var seat ID is, that's going to be, so we take the MS list, index it by I, and turn that item into a jQuery item, and I want to pull out the ID attribute. Okay, so that's going to be 1B, 2B, and so forth, well, underscore 1B, 2B, and so forth. So that's the seat ID, and now I want to check every one of the ranges, and we saw we had networks. So we've got these 5 ranges, 0 through to 4. I'm not interested in the index. I'm interested in the 0th element of this range and the second element, so well, the first and the second element. That's the low value, that's the high value, and I want to find out if the seat that I'm looking at is between those two. So let's run over all of the items. So that's var j, I can't use I, so let's move on to j. J is less than d dot pricing dot length. That was an array, you remember. J++, and open and close. Good. All right, so I want to see if we're in range. So let's work out the low and the high. So var low equals, right, that's d dot pricing indexed by j, and I'm interested in the range and the 0th element of that. Okay, so that should be this part here for each of them. So it's d dot pricing range and then 0, and high is similar to that, except that that is element 1. Okay, so let's complete this if. What I need is for SID to be greater than or equal to low and less than or equal to high. Okay, that doesn't work. I've got to say SID again. Okay, so the seat ID has got to be between low and high. Yep, between those two. And the ranges are inclusive, that's where I've got the equal sign. So that's the lowest value including 1A, and that's the high value including 1F, and all the way along those ranges are inclusive, which is why I've got the equal sign. So if I've got a matching range, then I can set some variable. Let's set a variable seat price. Seat price equals, okay, so that was d dot, I've been writing princing everywhere, it's pricing. Princing is something that the heir to the throne does. We're not doing that, we're pricing. So that's d dot pricing, and it's the price that we're interested in. Price, there we go. And let's put this spelling mistake right. That's not princing. And what the heck is that? Range 1, that should be, that's an E. And that should be square brackets 1. Okay, that's looking good. So we found SP. What we really should do is declare a variable SP here. So var SP, and that's me calculating SP. And at the end of the loop, hopefully, we'll have found exactly one match. So every seat should match exactly one, and we'll have SP. Let's make that debug message a bit more meaningful. Let's say found price for, and the seat I'm looking at is SID. So found price for SID, and that price is SP. That looks good. I think I'm tempted here to put in equals -1, and that's not a sensible price, so that's not a price they get over the even EasyJet don't sell seats for -£1. So -1 is an infeasible value, and by the time I've gone through this loop, I should have found exactly one. Okay, let's try that. So I'm going to write that out. That's quite a lot of code. Chance of this working the first time are slim. Let's put the console on and reload. Okay, so click on that guy there, and there's an error. D is not defined, line 69. Let's look for line 69. There it is. Okay, D is not defined, and indeed it isn't. Let's take a look at that error. I've gone to the top of the file. This is the get.json. So this function here is the one that kicks off when the user loads that booking.json file, and it starts here So that function starts there, that's where D lives, and it runs all the way down to there. If I do percent in VI, it switches between the top and the bottom. So I don't know if you can see I'm flicking between the top and the bottom. So that's the scope, and D lives and exists inside this scope. Outside that scope, D just doesn't exist, and I should get uncaught reference D is not defined. That's quite right. D is not defined. It's defined in this range here, and outside that range, D just doesn't exist. I'm trying to access D way down, forward, down here. That's after that JSON file is completed. This is me in the handle click event, and I don't have access to the variable D. It's a pain, but it's not an insurmountable problem. So D doesn't exist. I'm going to have to, oops, didn't mean to do that. I want to make up a global variable. So it's not good, but sometimes we have to. I'm going to create a global variable called pricing here. And oh, you can see I've done this before. Inside this, let's take that out. So this line here that I'd already done, because this is not the first time I've made this video, pricing equals d.pricing. I'm remembering that value. So I set the global variable pricing equal to d.pricing. So I've got a global variable with the pricing in, and I can refer to that further down. Nope. Escape, Control F takes me a page down at a time. So what I need to do is to find all the references to d dot, and I can just remove them. /d /dot. So that's saying search for D with a full stop. A full stop usually means something special when you're doing a search in VI, but backslashing it means I'm finding exactly the D dots. And that worked. I can't see the thing. Oh, there it is. D dot pricing, get rid of that. Find the next one, D dot pricing, get rid of the D dot, get rid of the D dot. That's the last one, I hope. Let's just search. And that's taken me right back up to the top of the file. So I've taken away the D dot. I'm not referring to D, I'm referring to this global variable pricing that I set up specifically to remember that value. Write that out, see if it works. Reload. Click on a seat. Okay, found a price. So that was the expensive one, you remember? That was the $13.99 seat. And the bad news is it's found that and it thinks it's $4.99. Let's take a look at the data. Okay, so it's the booking data I'm interested in and this pricing variable here. So it should have matched this range here because that was seat 1B I booked. So seat 1B I booked, and that comes after 1A for sure, and it comes before 1F, that's true as well. But somehow it's not giving me this value 13.99, instead it's giving me 4.99, so it's either come from here or from here. And if we think it through, it turns out that this value here, underscore 14A, is alphabetically, that comes before underscore 4A. So it's going to hit this range as well, because the 1B that I'm looking for, underscore 1B, comes after that, and it comes before this. And so actually this range here, this fourth range, the 499 range, that actually matches. The problem is that I'm doing the comparison on strings, and I should be doing them on integers. So what I've got to do is pull the integers out. Okay, I can do that. Alright, so let's pull the integer out of the attribute. This is the ID attribute, and that starts with an underscore. If I do dot substr 1, that should get rid of the that first underscore. That's all very well, but I want to turn that into a number. I've also got the letter at the end, but I'm pretty sure that I can do a parseInt. So this string here will be something like 1b, and if I do parseInt of 1b, the b just gets thrown away and it will parse the 1. Actually, I'm a bit worried about that. I'm going to check parseInt JavaScript, and let's look at MDN. Now, if the documentation says that that's the right behavior, we'll do that. Otherwise, I don't want to rely on it, because even if it did work in Chrome, that doesn't mean it would work in the other browsers. So I'm just going to check the documentation and see if I'm allowed to parse something that starts with an integer and doesn't. parseInt. So radix we're not interested in, we're in base 10. String, the value to parse. If it's not a string, it's converted to a string, fair enough. Leading white space in the argument is ignored. Return value. An integer number passed from the given string. If the first character cannot be converted to a number, NaN is returned. So if the first character cannot be converted into a number, NaN is returned. That's implying, pretty strongly I think, that as long as the first character is a digit, it's going to work. Yeah, I think that's going to be okay. That's all about different bases. If parseInt encounters a character that is not a numeric in a specific radix, it ignores it, and all succeeding characters. Fantastic, this is doing exactly what I want. If parseInt encounters a character that's not a number, it ignores it, and all succeeding characters, and returns the integer value passed up to that point. Perfect. Documentation is saying what it should do. That's what it should do. I can safely use parseInt in that case. I'm also going to do the same thing here. So those ranges, they had the leading zeros as well, so I can put in parseInt there. And let's not forget to get rid of the underscore at the beginning, not there. Dot substra1 and close the parseInt bracket and do the same thing here. So now, don't forget to do the dot substra1. So remove that first character, parseInt, terrific. And now SID should be an integer, low and high should be integers, and this comparison should be happening on numbers rather than strings, which means that 1 is going to be less than 14 and it won't match that last value. Write that out and confidently go forward and check the pricing. Reload. Normal reload. We're going to look at the console because the only output is going by console. So this is my $13.99 seat. Oh, excellent. That's $13.99. This seat here is slightly cheaper. I think that was the $9.99. Yep. And let's have another seat back here. That's another $9.99. So let's print it out. Row 1, 13. Yes, that looks good. Let's try another value. Where's the network? So booking and pricing. So the seats at the back are cheap. The seat 7 and so forth, they're a bit more, they're cheap as well. So let's try that seat there. Where's my console? Here it is. Yep, so it goes 1, 2, 3, 7. They're the seats that are booked. Let's unbook some seats. And we'll try another one here. What about seat 15? Seat 15 is $4.99. Is that the right price? Is a seat in row 15 $4.99? Row 15 should be $4.99. Perfect. So if we look at the console, you can see that as I book seats, it gives me a list. So there's 3 seats, and let's put them in different rows. It's easier to see what's going on. So 1, 2, 3. All right, so when I book those 3 seats, it gives me these 3 prices. And if I book my 4th seat, it gives me 4 prices. So the new values in here are these 4 values there. Okay, so I want to output the sum of that. Let's do that. So I'm not actually interested in the individual prices, I want the total price. Let's say, let's have an accumulator up here. So var tot price, start out at 0. Every time we find a price, we're going to set SP. So that's set an SP. I'm going to leave SP in place. And I'm going to say here, after I've been through the loop and I found the matching one, so tot price plus equals SP. And I'm not going to bother logging, I'm that confident. Okay, so that's the total price, and after I've been around all of these seats, 4 seats in this case, let's console log total price. I don't want to say total price, this is the booking price. Booking price, comma, and what did I call it? Top price. Okay, let's see if that works. So we'll reload. Okay, 1 seat booked. Yes, let's book another one in the front. So now the booking price has doubled. Excellent, because they were both expensive seats. Let's have some cheap ones back here as well. Okay, so that's $13.99. Those cheap ones, I thought they were 4 each. So that's not. Maybe these are £10 seats. So if they were £10 seats or $9.99 seats, that would be. So 14 for them, that's 28. There's 28 plus 2 lots of 10, 28. That gives me 48, just under £48. Yep, that's right. That's the right value. Good. I think that's working. I worked out this price, and let's put it down here after the subtotal. Okay, so we'll call that booking price. This is something I think on EasyJet, they don't actually give you a running total of what your seat booking's worth, so we're going to make up some syntax here. I'm going to call that booking price, and I'll just put it under that subtotal. All right, so instead of console.log, I'm going to make up a div. So 3 change word. That's dollar. So quote bracket div. So that's my div, and I want the text of the div to be just that. Booking price, shall I put in a capital to be consistent? That was subtotal with a capital, so let's give it a capital B. Booking price plus, let's put in a pound sign as well. So booking price, total price, close the curly bracket, round bracket I already closed, and that's my div, and I'm going to put that at the end of append to. Okay, I'm going to append that to the div just here, this div here. So I wanted to go down there, so I wanted to go at the end of that. Let's find out what this div is called, inspect. And that, is it this div here? No, it's not. It's the thing that contains that. It is trip details. Let me just check that. Hover over trip details. Yep, there's that block there. Just want to go to the end of that block. Okay, trip details that was. Trip details. Okay, so we'll put the total price in there. Now we're going to use the same trick we used before. So what happened before was that we removed the UL from booking summary, and then we put in the new one. I'm going to do something very similar, except that I've got a whole bunch of divs, so I can't find the div easily. I'm going to give this an ID, and the ID is simply there so that I can delete it. So this is the booking price total. Okay, so the ID is booking price total, and just before I insert it, I'm going to delete it. Hash booking price total. Otherwise, every time we clicked, we get a new one. So that's that. So I found it, and let's delete it. Remove should take it out of the DOM. Write that and have a go. Reload. There's my booking price, it's $13.99. Let's take another of those. It should double to what, $27.98? Perfect. Book another one, and we can see the booking price is going up. Can't book a fifth one, sorry, and the booking price has gone down again. Okay, I'm liking this. Booking price is working out. I'd like these numbers to line up. I'd like all of these numbers to line up, but I'm not going to deal with that right now. So I've got the booking price, I've got the differential prices, different seats in different ranges add up. So what we saw was interpreting quite a complicated structure. So this structure here, this pricing, we looked into that. We realized that the string comparison didn't work. We had to use numeric comparison. We dealt with the issue that this data structure here wasn't available to us when we needed it. We got it when we first downloaded the seats, but we lost it. It went out of scope, but we were able to keep it using a global variable. And we're uncomfortable about using global variables, especially in JavaScript, but sometimes we just do stuff. Yeah, I'm a big fan of simple solutions to complex problems. Global variable. You'll regret it in the end, but for a small program like this, we can probably get away with it.